What is going on, gentlemen? I hope you guys are all doing fantastic. I hope you guys are having yourselves a spectacular day today. And I hope that I can add to the greatness of your day by bringing an awesome interview that I had today with none other than Steffo Shambo, aka the TantricMan. Be sure to look him up on Instagram. I have all the links featured in the description below. Now, when it comes to Steffo, he is basically a Tantra master, right? Hence the reason why he created the TantricMan experience. And I had the utmost pleasure and the privilege of asking him a whole bunch of questions, which helped to basically enlighten me on a subject that I am not well versed in at all. However, it does play into what we as guys need to know in regards to sexual mastery, semen retention, and obviously being able to harness all that sexual power that we have and that we may not know enough about, right? Which is why it was so awesome to have this interview with Steffo, right? Well, we got to touch on these different subjects, and we had a blast talking about the Godzilla orgasm. The Godzilla orgasm? I know you're probably wondering what that is, but you will soon find out. Just stay tuned and just let this episode roll on by, because you're going to have a good time listening to it. Again, if you guys do want to be a part of his mentorship program, be sure to sign up for the TantricMan experience, which is available on his website. All right, without any further ado, guys, let's dive into this one because I'm excited for you guys to listen to this interview. All right. Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Today, I'm joined by the TantricMan, Steffo Shambo. How are you today, sir?
I'm blessed and grateful. Good to be on here, Rodriguez.
Dude, I am so thankful you are here. You know, I had a couple of guys actually reach out to me and they're like, hey, man, you got to check out this TantricMan. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Because I really don't know a whole lot, right? So I had to educate myself, learn more about it. And man, the stuff that I'm just going through, I'm like, this is totally right up our alley. But like we were talking previously, could you just give us a little bit of a background into what got your journey started and what led you down this path?
Yeah, like I just told you of recording, you know, I was looking for answers in my life, and I was kind of seeking something more to life. I had certain experiences back home in my home country, so you know, and I was kind of in this like dark place, and I was like, oh, there's something more to life. And so I set out on kind of like a pilgrimage, and I was like, I'm just going to travel solo, you know, by myself. You know, I just like got rid of all my apartment, all my belongings, and just like a backpack. And I just went out to travel, single tickets, you know, and I didn't know for how long. I said it's going to be gone for a while. And I was gone for years, right? I was gone for years and traveled all around the world. And on that travel, I, you know, discovered, you know, yoga and Tantra and this philosophy, and it just clicked. And I was like, it's something here that I've been looking for without knowing that I've been looking for it. And that's how it started. So one thing led to another. It became my lifestyle, and I did it every day for hours. You know, it was like my occupation, so to say, without making money out of it. And then, you know, I became a yoga teacher, and then I became Tantra teacher, and then I gave workshops, and then, you know, I'm doing this coaching online now. So that's kind of like the short story, more about my hero's journey on my website, like you mentioned before.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always kind of have people ask me about, I'm like, dude, I got no idea, where they're like, Tantra, and what is Tantra exactly?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. It's so much misinformation out there today. And, you know, most people, when they hear Tantra, they think about Kama Sutra. Yeah. Those are two completely different systems. Kama Sutra has nothing to do with Tantra. really, so they were developed in different ages, and they're from the same country, so they have, origins are the same, but very, very different systems. So Tantra is a technology to expand consciousness. Basically, it's a set of techniques and technology that you do for your inner engineering. So you want to manipulate what they call the energy body. So what they discovered, just like our doctors today, is like they map the anatomy of the human body. You have the arteries and the blood flow, and it goes to the heart and it pumps up and the brain sends signals. We have all that mapped out, and we call that anatomy, biology, and science, right?
Yeah.
What they did is something similar, but with the energy system and the energy body. So they mapped out the meridians, the nadis, the energy channels, and the chakras. And if you ever heard chakras in these woo-woo or like places, it all stems from Tantra. That's the first origin mention ever about chakras and nadis and kundalini. That's the origin of it, because it's all about a system to manipulate your inner energy to unleash more of life. They say we are so limited in how we experience life and our bodies, and we can actually utilize so much more if we know how to actually use this knowledge to our benefit. So that is basically Tantra. And sex, yes, it's part of it, because Tantra includes everything, but also how you eat, how you walk, how you sleep, and how you make love. So everything is included. But in the West, we are fixated on sex, or the whole world is fixated on sex. So we take out the sexual part many times and just make that into Tantra. And that has become Neo-Tantra. So today, when we talk about Tantra, we have to be specific about, are we talking about Neo-Tantra or classical Tantra? And those are very different, but they can also work hand in hand.
Gotcha. And one of the things that I'm starting to see more and more is people talk about energy healing. I had read a book on tapping. It was the EFT method, basically, right? And they said the same thing that you just mentioned about the different meridian points on the body. How is is there a practice or a technology or a method in Tantra for healing as well, to remove blockages?
I mean, that's not the main point. So in Tantra, the main point is to reach an expanded awareness and consciousness. So
Gotcha.
Remember, the word Tantra means a technology to expand consciousness. So it's not so much about healing. Like Taoist Tantra, Taoism is more about healing, longevity, and you use that things for kind of just health. Tantra is more that you use it for spiritual benefits. So like, you get certain mastery over specific things in life, or you get acquire certain skills. So you become more lucid, or you become more aware of yourself. You discover who you truly are. And it's like more metaphysical in a way, you could say.
Yeah.
But a side effect to that is purification, and that leads to better health. So you could say that, yes, it can be used for health, but many people get stuck on that, and they just, that's okay. It's fine. You can use it for whatever you want to, but it's not the main goal. It's just like a side benefit, a bonus on the journey, so to speak.
Well, no, it's kind of, I mean, because I'm learning all these things, man. Bear with me. You're dealing with a complete base beginner, man. So, I mean, I got a million questions, and
100%. Shoot, let's do it.
And another question I have, because this is the one that I've always and I was watching some of your YouTube videos too, where you're talking about semen retention, right? Where a lot of people dispute it. They're like, no, it doesn't exist. It's not real. But I've always kind of held that within my own way of thinking, anyways, I guess, is that, there's a power here, right? And then I've heard other guys kind of talk about that too, where this is basically a catalyst for creation inside of you, right? What are your thoughts on semen retention and nofap, I guess, too, is one that goes hand in hand with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best things ever. Like I've been doing it for years, and it totally changed my entire life. and I help men with the same things, and then we use that power to kind of manifest whatever we want in life, whether that is to save a marriage or reignite the passion in a dull relationship, or finding love, or like to have that power backing up. And we can debate all day long about if it's real or not, if it's working or not, if it's scientifically backed or not, but it doesn't really matter. Just try it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't ejaculate for 30 days. I challenge you, all of you guys who listen, and tell me you don't feel fucking like a beast after 30 days, and then you ejaculate for 3 days straight, 5 days straight, and then you compare. Take a mental picture before 30 days and then after 5 days of ejaculating every day, and see how you're feeling. Are you as driven? Do you have as much willpower? Are you less romantic with your partner? Do you have less sex drive? See for yourself, and then you have your answer right there.
100% agreed, man. One of the places that I learned about it was like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, where this one dude was talking about how he's like, nah, before a fight, man, you never let go. And I'm just like, is there truth to this? And I remember being like 16, I'm like, maybe I'll try this out. And sure enough, I kind of felt the difference. When I went to the gym, I just felt like I had more strength, more power, just feel more energy. And same deal as to what you just said. It's like, let's say you bust nut every single day for a month, man, you don't feel like much. And I'm like, you don't got to be a scientist. And as far as science goes too, I'm like, we don't need to prove everything in some study, in some medical journal. And that's the thing, which I find so intriguing about your journey, is that these are all ancient technologies. And I don't know why it's not, or has been brought out to the light and not as popular here in the West, man.
Yeah, 100%. And just to kind of emphasize that. So semen retention is not part really of classical Tantra. It's just like that was used more for ritual. So they were speaking about when you enter into a ritual or doing something sacred, you should never ejaculate. You should keep that power, because then whatever you do in that ritual, whatever that might be, with a partner, without a partner, it will be so much more powerful. So it's kind of like one of the secret codes to performing rituals. But today it's used more in a neo-tantric way of like, we use that for health, for testosterone, for willpower, for masculine energy, and for longevity and all this kind of stuff. Just to, put that out there, because there's so much debate across the net about this.
Yeah. And going, I guess, just kind of keeping on the same thread is so a lot of guys struggle with obviously ejaculation, whether it's premature ejaculation or just not being able to control, or obviously having sex and wanting to ejaculate every time. How would you coach a guy in this situation?
You see, it's not a simple answer that I can give you that will just like magically you can go home and try it and it will work. So first of all, everyone is different, right? So we have different levels. I have something called the 5-level transformation, meaning that we don't just do like talk therapies, only addressing the mental part of things. We need to include our spiritual being, our energy body, like we talked about before, to be able to address where is the blockage here. Are you premature? Are you ejaculating too early because you have a physical issue? You're obese. You have a lack of blood flow, so whatever. Or is it a mental issue, the anxiety, stress? Or is it an emotional issue? You have trauma, maybe, sexual trauma. Or is it shame or guilt around your sexuality, or how to be a man in this world? We're programmed so much about what it is to be a man, how we should be a man, and men don't cry, and let's toughen up, and always, don't talk to your guys about certain topics. It's like, where is it coming from? So it's not like like a one size fits all. We need to really, examine and custom tailor the plan to each and every one of my clients, because that's why we get such an amazing result. Because this is not like an online course you just sign up to and just like everyone going through the exact same thing. No. We have to see, who are you? What are you struggling with? What are your demons? What is your purpose and what's your goals? And then we custom tailor a plan to fit that and use the 5 levels, a holistic approach, meaning not only mentally, not only, but even spiritually and on an energy level as well. Maybe you have a blockage on an energy level. The energy gets stuck down there in the pelvic floor, and it's just an overload. It's like you're filling a glass and with water, and it's just overflowing. So maybe we need to unblock some of that so the energy can flow upwards or into the other parts of the body. So we need to look at human beings and men as a whole to really figure out what's going on here.
Gotcha. And when they do master that, how do they progress, or how are they able to really harness that power for sexual transmutation?
Yeah, I mean, the sky is the limit. This is a journey that you keep on growing on forever. Like Tantra is something that, like, in this world, you can develop in so many avenues that one lifetime is not enough. So the sky is the limit. Like, it depends on, like, once you unlock that and start to be able to tap into that life force that is within that sexual energy, right? You know, people start to use that for attracting the love of their life, or getting into a meaningful relationship, or ending their loneliness and, you know, the shame of not, you know, being a family man at mid-30s or whatever it is, mid-40s. Or if they're in a relationship that, you know, it's completely dull and it's just like killing their relationship, and they see they're in a pattern, and they're just repeating the same pattern with new women, with new partners each and every time. And they're like, how can I overcome this? How can I reignite the passion here, or saving the marriage from the brink of divorce? Like, so they use it for these purposes mostly, because that's kind of the audience that I'm catering to.
Man, it's awesome. I saw a couple of testimonials of dudes who were like, hey, man, my relationship was saved. Went from being on the brink of divorce to actually having one of the best relationships with my significant other ever. Right. And I'm like, the fact that you're able to do that just from figuring out what's wrong with the individual, it's freaking mind blowing, man. Which is something that I find, like, in the West here, like, everybody's like, you know, we for some reason just always forget about that spiritual side. But in regards to something like, let's say somebody who may, you know, let's say no meditation, no nothing, what could they do to kind of get started right off the bat, that you could say, hey, you know what, start off with this and just see if that helps you in any way?
It's a very broad, you know, I need to get some more information, like where they're at, what are they struggling with, what do they want, basically. So I can just get some kind of information. Maybe you can just make up an example, or maybe your example, or so yeah. So
perfect example is, I got tons of young guys in like insecure, watching porn every day, playing video games every day. They don't know where they're going, and they haven't, you know, gone on their journey yet. Like a dude, let's say, I don't know, between the ages of 20 to 25, just stuck in a rut, mom's basement, you know, they asked me, I'm like, I don't know, man.
yeah. So in that age, the thing is that men have cycles in their lives. So we go through different stages, right? So, you know, we have the prince stage, which is usually the 20s, right? And then we have the knights in the 30s. And then we have, you know, the pages in the, like, the teenage years, you know, and then I've had the king in the later years. So we all go through different stages, which means we have different desires in life, you know. A page maybe, and a page and around the teenage years, in the 20s, they're usually looking for exploration and adventure, right? So they might not be ready to kind of totally transform their lives. They might not have suffered enough, and they might just want to cruise and enjoy, and, you know, being a little bit stupid, you know. And so that's their path. So the thing is, you cannot force anyone to kind of change if they don't want to. So they have to come to realization, this is an issue and I want to change that. Before that happens, you know, it's very, very difficult to offer any kind of transformation in the way that I'm doing it, because it's like a life-changing things. Like, so you have to be 100% committed. You can't just be like a little bit curious and you just want to click on it, but you also want to sit on the sideline and not do anything. It doesn't work, right? So when you say in 20 and to 25, I think that there are quite young still, so if they don't have any serious issues, I would just start to take a look at, like, why am I watching porn? Asking myself questions. What are the feelings that are arising when that urge comes to watch porn? What am I substituting here? Is there something else I can get from somewhere else in life that I'm not actually giving myself? Because it is an addiction if we do it every day, right? Even if we cannot stay away from it for 3 months, try it. Have you ever gone 3 months without porn? If not, it's probably an addiction. An addiction is something that a coping mechanisms of an emotion or trauma, something underneath that we are covering or escaping from. So start to ask intelligent questions like that, and in the moment when you feel that urge, just stop for a moment before you open the browser and just like, hey, what am I feeling right now? What triggered this urge to watch porn? Was it loneliness? Was it boredom? Was it that I saw my friend with his girlfriend and I felt jealous? Was it, whatever it was, right? So like start to inquire to get some more information about your habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes good sense, because it's almost like it's those small low-key moments where nobody's watching that really reveal us to ourselves, right? It's like, but then it's almost like you say, you take a step back and you're just kind of more mindful of what you're doing. You're like, why am I doing this? And I think the biggest thing that we should just start off with is asking why. So I definitely find that to be something that, hey, you know what, I got to make sure that these guys listen to this episode and consider the things that you're talking about right now, because that makes perfect sense. But
and the second thing there, I would just say to study about the brain and how the brain get attached to porn in the same way like cocaine or other drugs, so it's a dopamine producing activity that hijacks the brain and basically takes over your power, your ownership, your authority, and your sexual mastery. So you ask yourself, do you want to give away your power to something like that and have your brain being hijacked by this dopamine producing, very non-intimate screen kind of thing that we got going on there? So the second piece there would be to educate yourself of what's actually happening. What's the negative side effects of porn? Not to like demonize porn, but if it's an addiction, it is an addiction, right? So that would be the second thing. More awareness, the first thing. Education is the second thing.
I love that. It's 100% true, man. And on the topic of that, one thing you mentioned there was sexual mastery. Could you dive a little bit deeper into that? Because, hey, man, I'm curious. I'm been married for a while. I want to become a sexual master, man.
No, in regards to porn addiction, it's like that is blocking us to fully master it, because what happens is that we start to fire certain neurons in our brains, and they start to connect with other neurons, and they create pathways in the brain, which is linked to basically what we're doing. There's a screen. There's no physical intimacy, right? And we are only in our heads, and we are self-gratifying ourselves, right? So it's a very numbing, it's a very non-physical, it's a very low intimacy. There's zero intimacy there, right? So what we're doing basically is programming our brain, basically hardwiring our brain to be numb, to desensitize, and to lack that part of what Tantra needs is sensitivity, right? So that's why it's a blockage, and that's why it's a hindrance to fulfill your sexual mastery, right? So what like someone getting off porn, it takes probably around 6 months of cold turkey to even like start to change those pathways in the brain again. And so for someone that is a heavy porn user, it can be, a very difficult journey to get off that. But that's always the first step. We need to get off this wiring of the brain if we're going to be able to, like, how will you start to be so sensitive that you feel multiple energy orgasms if you're so numb from, you know, gangbang with 20 people, right? Like you have to be get subtler than that, right? So and so they're kind of opposing each other.
Got you. So it's almost like you got to get rid of that block to start building a new foundation.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to sexual mastery via Tantra, like let's say you've already gotten past that. Now, what would be like the next step?
So where are you in the journey now? Let just give some more details there.
Well, let's say for me, I mean,
like in this, like, okay, so we have this guy, he was addicted to porn, and now he overcome that. Like, what does he want to do now?
let's say married, you know, been married for 10 years, happy, you know, happy in the marriage, but it's almost like, what is that next level? Like, I'm speaking for myself now. I'm just like, I don't know what that next level would be or what that deeper connection really means, I guess, because it's almost like it's a different world now.
Yeah. What do you have any issues that you want to resolve, or you just want to improve things? You want to
No,
increase the connection in the bedroom, or what is it exactly?
well, for me personally, like I feel fantastic now, you know, learned a lot. I mean, after a long time, but it's almost just like that deeper connection that I hear about, or it's almost like when people say like you can just like the one thing I think I was learning or trying to learn more about was almost like just connecting on an energetic level, right? And the whole multi-orgasmic thing that comes out of that. Like, how does that work exactly?
Right, right. So what helps is to have both a solo practice and a partnered practice in this. So we're talking about strengthening our energy system. Like if we go rewind back to the introduction of what is Tantra, right? So
Yeah.
strengthening our relationship to our energy body. So we can see our physical body, right? But there's like in Tantra, they say it's like almost like a hood. You know, you just go over, you're slightly like this size above, and like you can almost feel it sometimes if you ever done this like
Energy
exercise, and you can
ball.
feel some
Yeah.
kind of magnetism between the hands. Or if you're getting massage, sometimes like they're like approaching with their hands, so you can almost feel their presence, right? So it's this kind of the entering into your energy field, right? So we want to develop that aspect both by doing masculine practices for us men, you know, in the morning, in the evening, whatever that might be. Just like a bodybuilder will go to the gym and work on his body, we work on our energy body, right? So we want to have that and develop that aspect, so we have some relationship to the subtleties of our human being, right? And then we also want to bring that into partner practices, and that can be with or without lovemaking. But here we start to kind of slow things down. We start to kind of maybe introducing, you know, some quotes from a book that we read, or maybe we just start to talk heart from heart, and we just like, okay, so do a check-in, like a relationship check-in. You see like where we at, how you feeling, what are you struggling with, well, what's our goals as a couple, you know, and like maybe just like sit and meditate a little bit for a while, and exploring each other's sexual shame, but also our sexual desires, and we both can be very honest with these things. So what are things that I maybe am not usually wanting to tell you, but you know, I'm going to tell you anyways, and here's some things that I would love to do with you, but it's totally fine if we don't, but I just want to, you know, get to know each other better on a sexual level, and then approach it from that place, and you just slow everything down like 10 times, you know. Like
Wow.
men need to really slow things down. Not to say that all tantra is slow, it's not, but in the beginning men really need to slow down to start to feel. And then you can, for example, just penetrate a woman or penetrate your partner and don't move. Just stay there. Okay. And then you look into each other's eyes, you stay there and see how long you can keep the erection for before it goes flaccid, and try to go for an hour. All right.
Wow.
So you're staying there, start to feel the energy that it's coming, that the sexual urge, like I want to move, I want to fuck, and just like, okay, I feel it, I feel it, I feel it. It's an energy here, whatever it is, but I'm not going to act on it, right? You
Yeah.
stay connected, right? And this is a practice to start to kind of tap into the subtleties, just very roughly and quickly here.
That's super interesting because that's the one thing where everybody's like, I want to be a sexual man. But I'm like, okay, but where do you start from? Right. And this makes a lot of sense because it's almost like you're in there, but you're controlling the energy that you really want to just release, release, release. And obviously for men, perfect. I'll raise my hand too, man. Because obviously, you want to go at a faster tempo usually, right? But even then, for guys who do want to get better, the one thing that I've always heard too is just slow it down, man. Slow it down, breathe in and breathe out. As far as like, let's say when you are inside, are there breathing techniques or anything that you do as well to kind of pair with it? Or
I mean, for what I said, you don't need it because you're not really moving, right? So
okay.
yeah, but if you would be moving and you feel like you're close to finish, like, and it's only been a few minutes. I mean, like Tantra is not really been. You cannot really develop and practice Tantra if it's just lasting for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, right? So,
Yeah.
but then yes, if that happens after a few minutes and you feel like you're on the edge, yeah, start to incorporate breathing exercises and things like that to last longer.
Got you. And could you tell us a little bit more about the divine feminine? Because I'm hearing the divine masculine, the divine feminine come up. Can you touch on that a little bit more too?
Yeah, what's the specific question though?
The divine masculine, divine feminine. Because I hear about like, these energies kind of like the yin and yang and then the perfect balance and we come together. And, apparently that's like, energy at its fullest. Like, could you touch more on that and on what they
What
are
it is?
actually? Yeah.
What it is? Okay. Well, for me, it's a fancy name of just describing more of our higher self, our higher nature. So we both have masculine and feminine energy. We are a being of duality, yin and yang. We all have both. It's not wrong to have, for a man to have feminine energy and so on and so forth. So the divine masculine what in my terms would be like the healthy masculine, the one that is the spiritual essence inside of us, right?
Yeah.
So the intuition of our deepest heart, of a spiritual heart, basically. That's that divine masculine, who is that all encompassing consciousness that is really holding space for the divine feminine, that energy to kind of do her power to just like unleash her energy inside that consciousness, right? And do the creation and the birth of the universe, right? So so that's how I see it, in a way of like the spiritual, healthy feminine and masculine when we say the divine, right? So it's like pointing towards that. So meaning for an unhealthy feminine energy would be maybe a victimhood, manipulation, and emotional, chaotic. And unhealthy masculine energy would maybe be an aggressor and abuser, and maybe stonewalling and people pleasing and things like that, right? So that's like the other side of the shadow side of those things.
Gotcha. So I mean, that's the thing about Tantra, which just seems like it's so huge that it's like the universe kind of just brought to an understanding that obviously so much of us miss out on, myself included, man. And I just feel like I could talk to you all day because I got a million questions. But
Yeah.
when these things do come together, is that like, I know it's not the ultimate goal of Tantra because obviously it's to connect to your higher self, but would you find that maybe by default that's when you really do connect with your divine masculine? Let's say when you're really raising up who you are, like raising your vibration, raising your frequency, and really connecting with that higher self. And let's say your wife is doing the same thing. Is that almost when you find that divine unity? Or
Yeah, I mean, you can, but they also like a strong energy can bring you there as well together. Like that's why if you have a prolonged tantric lovemaking, this like super strong, intense energy, it can kind of bring you to that state as well, right? So it's like you push with the energy to get there, but realize these are archetypes, right? These are like universal archetypes that we can strive towards, but we're still human beings, and we will have ups and downs, and we like the polarity, good and bad, good days, bad days. We are happy in one moment, but we need to be sad to be able to also be happy. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what happiness is. So the same thing here. Yes, we can touch the divine masculine, divine feminine, but we're not going to stay there all the time, but we can cultivate that archetype within us to live more and more from that space. But that doesn't mean we're going to make mistakes, and we have sometimes days when we go into unhealthy behaviors, right?
Yeah, I mean, that human side of it, where it's almost that frame of reference that always exists, or I guess needs to exist on this kind of plane that we're on, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that you talked about too, it's almost like, speaking about bliss, but I'd seen on your YouTube channel actually, the Godzilla orgasm. Could you talk a little bit more about what that is and how to achieve that?
Right. Well, so this came from a client interview, and I was asking him a question, so, what happened, when you did the program? He said, me and my wife, we took our sexual connection to like a very deep spiritual level that we never felt before. And it was almost like this like connection and this like the high energy that was the first time both of us experienced, and it was really, really remarkable. And then I went on to ask him, like, so how did that feel like? How was your experience of that? Because most people, like you say, like we can't relate. So he started describing it, if I can remember correctly, that it was this kind of built up of energy that was just like flooding, like moving upwards and like flooding his head, and almost like his head, became like a halo. And there was this kind of like light beam, like beaming out from his crown. And he gave the kind of likening to like Godzilla. Have you seen that Godzilla movie? When so that is where it's coming from. It's, so everyone will have their different experience of these types of energy tantric orgasms, right? So we all will describe them in different ways. So it's basically an energy orgasm that was sublimated up to the crown. That's what he called a Godzilla orgasm. Yeah.
That's interesting. So one another question I got in regards to that, let's say, does the energy always have to rise all the way up, or could it just stay in different parts of the body?
It can, yeah. So in Tantra, it usually always goes up, and we want to put it in the higher chakras, like the heart, third eye, and the crown, because that's the goal of Tantra, is to spiritualize and refine our energies and our sexual energy, right? So in Taoism, though, they don't bring it up. They bring it up and down, they circulate it, because again, it's all about health. They're focusing on health and not enlightenment, right? So I teach Tantra, I don't teach Taoism. So for me, it's always upwards.
That's interesting. In Taoism, it's almost like they want to capture that energy and just kind of have it flow through their body
Oh,
after.
they circulate it. Yeah, they circulate it. Yeah.
It's interesting, man. Like I said, I'm a complete newbie, man, but I guess regardless, they're both still good for you. But I'd rather have the Godzilla orgasm myself. Could you tell us one of your, I guess not your favorite, but like, because obviously every single story that you've helped, it's probably been massive for you, but can you tell us a success story of somebody that you've helped?
Like just like a client, you mean?
Just a client of yours, yeah. Obviously nameless, but just tell us a little bit about how you work with them.
Well, we just tell you the latest one because that's on my mind right now. So we have this amazing guy who came into us. He was a bit of like a people pleaser, and he felt like if he wouldn't do anything, his relationship with the woman of his dreams would fall apart. So he had tried all kind of things with therapies, and it just didn't work, right? So he felt like very emasculated because his woman was like, I need you to be a man, like this is not working. And if you're not working on this, it's gonna end, right? So he really was desperate and looking for answers, and he joined the program, the TantricMan experience. And even in the first day, things shifted for him. I'm not kidding. This is in his words, right? So he started to notice change in the first day, his girlfriend started to commenting on his change in the first day and the first week. And she said, oh, I see you change. There's something different about you. And she even went on, you can see this in my Facebook group, on my website. They both made a video, and she is saying that if he was not doing this work in this program, they wouldn't be together today. So they went from the brink of just breaking up, and now they're moving. They bought a house together, basically.
Wow.
And they got a dog. And so, and this happened in 9 weeks. We're not talking about years and years in therapy and maybes. We're talking about results in the first day, and 9 weeks they're moving in together. So these things work, and it's working because we do things, approach it in a holistic, different way than the conventional couples counseling.
Yeah, couples counselor, people just yell at each other.
Right.
You know, it's got the divorce rates going through the roof here, but you know, enough on that. But what are some of the other courses that you teach? Because I did see on your YouTube channel, which I will link in the description, guys. But I did see that you have like I think it was like a 30-day no fap challenge and some other things. But what else
Right.
do you teach, and what else do you focus on?
That's it, brother. That's it. So I take the approach of having one extremely powerful, life-changing offer and perfecting that. So all my focus 100% goes to this, because it's not, I don't want a library of 100 online courses like everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
I'm teaching, like I said, a custom tailored mentorship program. Well, you will get the results at the end of it. And that's why we get such amazing results. So one offer for an amazing result. So that is the TantricMan experience. I don't have any other current offers. I have freebies, you know, the YouTube channel, the 30-day challenge thing in my Facebook group, and I have my articles and stuff and some downloads there, but it's all freebies, right?
Yeah. But no, it makes way more sense. And that's kind of the one thing, because like I do personal training and I tell people a million times over, man. Everybody's like, hey, can I take this? Can I take that? Should I buy this? I'm like, you can buy a million different things, but the best thing, and if you look at the most, like, look at Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they all have a personal trainer, right? And it's kind of like, well, I don't need it. I could just go online and get all the freebies and I can go get this, that, and the other. But I'm like, listen, man, absolutely nothing will ever replace the individual programming, scheduling, and all the things that you need as a person. So it's good for me to see this from you, because that just means that, hey, you know what? You're making sure that everybody's catered to as an individual, right?
Yeah, 100%, brother, 100%. Why is it so hard for people to understand it? Like, when we're going to start a business, we go to a business coach and get help from someone who knows how to do it. Otherwise, we go bankrupt, right? When we want to get in shape, we get a PT, we get a personal trainer, because, you know, hey, you can probably figure out how to do everything right in a few years, but you probably will not. You know, when you see result is when you get a personal trainer, right?
100%.
And we get coaches in everything in life except our love life and relationship, which is the most important thing. Everyone on the deathbed agrees to that. The most important thing is human connection with people we love in our family and the close ones, right? So why are we not accepting that coaches, when it comes to sex, love, and relationship, should be as equally important? And as you say, you can do all this like safe, self-paced online courses, and you'll get maybe some great information, but mediocre results, because it never brings you the same way. I would never be able to be in this position if I didn't have multitude of mentors and gurus and teachers in Tantra, yoga, and all that to be able to be in this place.
Yeah, well, that's because life is too short, man. It's like, what are you gonna do? Live 1,000 lives and be like, all right, I got all the information we need, guys. Like, it's impossible. And that's kind of the one thing that I try to drive home to all the time. It's like, listen, man, you are an individual. You need a program that's individually programmed for exactly who you are, right? So I just want to, obviously, when you mentor somebody, you start off from the blockages and then you progress from there, right? It's almost like you look at what their issues are and then you start building up from there, right?
Yeah, you could say like that. You know, it's but yeah, without the blockages, it's kind of like we're jumping the gun, right? It's like you're trying to build a castle on sand, right?
Yeah.
So you want to get the foundation right.
No, 100%, man. But you and me, like, yeah, you got the same mindset as I do, because it's almost like when I need help, I got to make sure I consult somebody to make sure, hey, you know what, you're doing this wrong. And a perfect example for me was when somebody asked me, like, well, I don't need personal training. No, everything's on YouTube. I'm like, well, Ronnie Coleman has a personal trainer, and he's the biggest bodybuilder I know. But on that note,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
where can we find you? And Instagram and all that good stuff, where can we find Steffo at?
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, so the best way to find me is on my website. This is where I put most of my energy, is tantricacademy.com. And it's there's a lot of stuff going on there. You can spend months there just going through all the free content that I have in videos, in downloads, in articles, and all the good stuff. And my 5-level method is there in a very nice visual kind of way. You can kind of click, and it's morphing into different levels, and you can see kind of the energy body, what we talked about, the meridians. So I mapped everything out there. It's a pretty cool website, I have to say. And so that's the best way to get hold of me. I am on Instagram, the Tantric Man, on YouTube, Tantric Academy. So YouTube would probably be my biggest social media outside of the website. Yeah.
Love it, man. Love it. Thank you for enlightening us today. And guys, be sure to check Steffo out. On that note, until the next episode, Steffo, it was an honor having you on the show today.
Good to be here, brother. Have a good one.
All right. You know, man.